Hi guys, Mr. Roth here, and today we're going to be looking at graphing a fully transformed sine curve. So let's jump right in. Consider this equation right here. What is the first thing that we notice about it? Well, the first thing that we always have to do when graphing a transformation is make sure that the interior of our function is fully factored. We see that x has a coefficient that is not 1, and there's also a horizontal shift, so we need to factor it. Let's rewrite this equation as y equals -1/2 times the sine. We'll factor out that 2, leaving us with an x minus pi over 2. And everything else is unchanged. Now let's go ahead and break this down, figure out what our a, b, c, and d are. A, our amplitude, is going to be right here. So we write that A equals -1/2. B is right there. Or B is just 2. Now we don't care about B in and of itself, but B is useful because it tells us that the period, let's write P, is equal to 2 pi over B. If that's 2, well, our 2's cancel, and we see that our period is just a nice even pi. Here is our C, right, that C is equal to pi over 2, and lastly our D, positive 3. Now let's start graphing this thing. I like to start with D, my midline first. Well, D is equal to 3, so I'm going to go up 1, 2, 3 units here and draw a horizontal line, and that is going to be the midline of my sine curve. Next, I look at my amplitude, A. I see that it's 1/2, so I know that at the minimum, this sine curve is going to go down half a unit from the midline. And at the maximum, it will go, let's say 4 is up there, so we'll go up half a unit to 3.5. So now we have a nice midline with some lanes on either side. Next, let's go ahead and look at our x-axis and make some tick marks. Now we know that the period of this is pi, so we always want to divide our period into 4 equal pieces. We want to quarter it. Well, a quarter of pi is just pi over 4, so we'll start here and make a tick mark at 0. We'll make this one pi over 4, giving us pi over 2, 3 pi over 4, 4 pi over 4, which is just pi, and we'll go ahead and go the opposite way. Negative pi over 4, negative pi over 2. Negative 3 pi over 4, and we'll go ahead and label negative pi right there. Okay, lastly, let's put down the first point of our sine curve. Our starting point is at C, pi over 2. We know that sine starts at the midline, so we go to where x is equal to pi over 2, and we can drop a point right there on the midline. Now normally, you remember the basic sine function starts at the midline, goes up to the amplitude, returns, down to the bottom of the amplitude, returns, something like that. However, we notice that we have a negative amplitude, so it's going to be backwards. We start at the midline, then we drop down to the nadir. Another quarter period, we return to the midline. Let's go another quarter period. Now we go to the top of the amplitude, and one final quarter period. That would put us at 3 pi over 2. We'll return to the midline. So there's our first period. Notice it goes from pi over 2 to 3 pi over 2, which is exactly pi units. Our period has width pi. And let's see, it says to sketch 2 periods, so we'll sketch another one to the left. Going back a quarter period, we're going to go up. Another quarter period to the midline. Third quarter period below. And the last quarter period returning us to the midline. And there is our beautiful sine function. Thanks for listening.